Hello and welcome to our first and virtual book on display event. In the framework of the National Lottery Heritage Grant, the Armenian Institute will put a book from our library collection on display every quarter, and we will discuss the importance of the book. We hope that our next book on display event will be at our new premises in Saffron Hill in the summer. Since the lockdown, we at the Armenian Institute have been on a very steep learning curve, digitizing our events, including this one. In my case, I am constantly reminded of the saying that involves an old dog and new tricks. Try as I did, I couldn't add the speaker's video to this presentation. Apologies for that. But we can see each other and chat at the Zoom discussion event on Easter Monday at 7:30 p.m. Please join me then. For our first book, I have chosen the Nor բառգիրք Հայկազեան լեզուի, the New Dictionary of the Armenian Language, a two-volume work published in Venice in 1836-37 by the Mkhitarist congregation, a brotherhood of Armenian Catholic scholarly friars who had settled in the city over a century earlier. But who were these scholarly monks? The Mkhitarist congregation was founded in Constantinople in 1701 by Mkhitar of Sastia, nowadays the town of Sivas in central Turkey. Observing the sorry state of Armenian monastic life as a result of devastations and wars in historic Armenia, Mkhitar sought to create a religious order dedicated to raising the educational and spiritual levels of the Armenian people. Having come into contact with members of Roman Catholic religious orders active in the Ottoman Empire, Mkhitar felt that the Church of Rome and Western models of scholarship were the best route for him to achieve his ambition. He gathered together a group of like-minded disciples and formed the Brotherhood. They left Constantinople and after a short spell in Greece found refuge in Venice in 1717, where the Senate ceded the island of San Lazzaro to Mkhitar and his fellow monks. Soon after their arrival in Venice, there was a burst of intense publishing activity, soon to be followed by an educational effort with the establishment of a network of schools in the Middle East and the New World. Initially using Venetian printers, the order soon established its own printing press on the island and brought out a phenomenal output of religious books as well as works of medieval Armenian literature and translations from European literature. With this rich output, unrivaled in the 18th and most of the 19th century, the Mkhitarists exercised a powerful educational influence throughout the Armenian world. Through their scholarly pursuits, the order set itself in the forefront of Armenian studies, publishing a multitude of historical, linguistic, and literary works, all quickly acquiring a reputation for unequaled scholarship and accuracy. From the very beginning, publication of dictionaries became a major part of the educational objective of the order. We should bear in mind that in the late 18th and early 19th centuries, the everyday language of a great part of the Armenian population in the Ottoman Empire was Turkish. Mkhitar himself was very much aware of this fact. In fact, he wrote his first book on Armenian grammar in Turkish. Printed in 1727, this was the first ever book of grammar for West Armenian. The next slide shows the conjugation of the verb to forget in Armenian. He wanted to teach his people the vernacular language and sufficient grammar before they could start on grapar or Classical Armenian, which was then the language of Armenian scholarship, as Latin had been in Western Europe. The next step for Mkhitar was to publish a dictionary of Classical Armenian, բառգիրք Հայկազեան լեզուի, or the Dictionary of Armenian Language, which he and his disciples accomplished in 1749. Some entries in this dictionary have their Turkish equivalents to make sure that the reader understands the meaning of the word. On this slide, the Armenian entry for apaharzan, or divorce, the Turkish words of boshanma and talak are also given. In his foreword to the dictionary, Mkhitar acknowledged that the sources available to him had not been sufficient to produce a complete lexicon of Classical Armenian and entrusted this task to his successors. This challenge was taken up by 3 future members of the order, namely Gabriel Avedikian, Khachadur Surmelian, and Mgrdich Avkerian. The result was the publication of our book on display, Nor բառգիրք Հայկազեան լեզուի, the Dictionary of Armenian Language, in 2 volumes. The 3 friars spent 50 years paging through over 1,000 manuscripts and all available printed works of the Armenian medieval literature. They compared variants of every word, sorted out repeats and relationships, corrected distortions and misspellings of medieval scribes. The corpus they produced consisted of 12 handwritten volumes, comprising over 100,000 words. However, the Mkhitarists were unable to publish their work in its entirety. The cost would have been beyond their means. They had to condense the dictionary into 2 hefty volumes, which saw the light of the day in 1836 and 1837. The Armenian Institute Library is proud to count amongst its collection the first edition of this epoch-making work. This is the title page of our book. It has a serious look, simple and unadorned compared to its predecessor. The title is followed by the names of the compilers, who proudly proclaim that they are disciples of the great abbot Mkhitar. Next, I'm going to show you a typical page of the dictionary with its very dense typesetting. This is the page that contains the word բառգիրք, dictionary, and its 2 variants, which are underlined on this slide. The next slide shows the Greek equivalent and the Latin synonyms, which are also given, followed by the conjugation and declension forms of the word. Then, at the end of the word definition, also in Classical Armenian, we see the Turkish equivalent, Luret Kitabı, in cursive Armenian letters. At the end, citation references for the word and its variants are also given. A great number of entries also have equivalents in the early 19th century vernacular Armenian. The worth of this dictionary is based on the astute philological and linguistic work that lies at the basis of its compilation. The 3 authors undertook a very thorough research of sources available to them, skillfully separating the wheat from the chaff to get to the original form of a given word. The importance of the dictionary in the development of the Armenian language, the Western variant in particular, cannot be overstated. It helped the advancement of West Armenian literary language and enriched it with choice phrases from Grapar, the classical language. The dictionary is also an unparalleled source for researchers, then and now, who would have to go through the entire corpus of medieval Armenian literature to find instances of word usage For the past 2 centuries since its publication, this lexicon has been, directly or indirectly, the basis of almost every Armenian dictionary. It is truly a treasure of the Armenian language. Thank you very much for listening. As I mentioned at the start of this talk, there will be a discussion session about Book on Display on Easter Monday, 13th of April, at 7:30 p.m. You will receive the Zoom invitation for the event. We would be delighted if you could join us then. Meanwhile, happy Easter under the circumstances to you all. Thank you.